okay.
Greetings, astronomers, children, and vengeance-seeking potatoes, to the 148th episode of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 2nd of March, 2016, and featuring the Sarah Jane Adventures, The Last Sontaran, written by Phil Ford and starring Elizabeth Sladen, Tommy Knight, Yasmin Page, and Daniel Anthony, not to be confused with Anthony Daniels. Also, you always happen to say all right as I'm taking a sip of whatever drink I have for the night.
Stop drinking when I'm done with the countdown.
I am Bill
I've
Sylvia,
learned
the
to
Man in
stop
Black,
drinking.
and with me are Mad Matt Winchell,
Glug.
Randy Ronson McCulloch,
Plague! We have the plague!
Cough McCough Aaron.
My nose is a little runny.
I almost said Coffee McCough, but that might make people think of the drink, and that wasn't my intention.
Woohoo! Coffee.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Ooga booga. Woo!
Bring out your dead.
I'm not dead.
If anyone here is going to be associated with the drink of coffee, it's me, because I can't remember the last time I've gone more than an hour awake without some.
I feel fortunate I'm here tonight because earlier today I kind of felt like I could be scraped off the floor of a taxi cab.
Yeah.
Oh, so you felt like Egon?
Pretty much. I blame Erin because she brought this home from work. And she got touched with like 2 days down and then 2 weeks worth of background coughing. And I've had this since Sunday and it's just killing me.
Oh, yeah.
It's killing me!
Freaking typhoid Erin.
Not all Irish people bring the plague with them.
No.
Yes. Some
I'm
of us
not
bring
blaming
potatoes.
all Irish people. I'm blaming you.
Some of us bring potatoes. Faith in the morning. Sporin Bagora.
Peter the attack potatoes.
You see, I can do this, Erin. My last name is McCulloch.
Nah.
My last name is Sheridan.
I thought you said you were French.
I'm a mix. French on my mother's side, which is Akaya, but McCulloch is Irish-Swedish, I think.
So you're kind of the labradoodle of Europe.
I'm pretty much every country that hates England, and then England on the other side.
Funny that.
Except German. I have no German in me, which is weird because that would have been the perfect mix of everything that's attacked England in the last 1,000 years.
I'm German.
It's like Scotch, Irish, French, Norwegian, Swedish. It's like, Jesus.
So
Anybody else want to invade England this week? Yeah.
As we get grossly off topic.
Yeah, well, we've got a 1-hour episode to cover. So it's basically a standard Doctor Who episode. So we have a little bit of time, Killy. But we might as well get on to the news before my cold decides to get worse. All right. Well, we have some birthdays, as usual, to celebrate. The first one is a posthumous birthday to the original Master, the man who invented the persona that 7 other actors would go on to portray. Roger Delgado himself would have been 98 on March 1st had he not died in that horrible car crash on June of 1973.
The world is a poor place.
It is. He would probably be dead by now anyway, because, very few men, get to be 98. Usually die somewhere in the 80s to 90s. But, people like George Burns get just past that hump. But,
although that is changing, and I would not be surprised if those, many of us around now make it to 100 unless there are complications.
I'm hoping to hold out until we get re-sleeving capability, and then I'm immortal. So hey.
My
Just
brain will be
clone me a
put
new
into a
body and
computer.
download me into it.
We'll just put you in cryostasis and send you out for the Enterprise to find.
Yeah, great. So, also celebrating a birthday yesterday, which was again the 1st of March, was John Leeson, who is the original and current voice of K9. Original being when they first started the K9 back in the Tom Baker era, and current as the person currently doing it for Big Finish Audio. Plus, if they ever get off their butts and make another K9 series or movie, John Leeson will be the voice behind it, provided he's still alive.
He took a brief break to be voiced by a Dalek.
Very brief. And the guy that did that did it whenever John Leeson had the flu and couldn't actually do the voice right. So, or
Or we
had
could just fake
laryngitis or
K9 being
something, because
sick
there were a
again.
few episodes where it was like John Leeson, and then it was this guy for like a serial and a half, and then Leeson took over again. And then, but no, John Leeson had. I mean, if you hear coming to your convention, the voice of K9, it's going to be John Leeson. And then finally, happy birthday to Michael Troughton, who is the son of Patrick Troughton, of course, the second Doctor. Michael has been in Doctor Who. Was in The Last Christmas, in fact, and has been in several Big Finish productions. And is that today that was his birthday? Or is his birthday?
Yes, that was today.
So, happy birthday today, Michael.
Yay!
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Many more.
You got any Kleenex?
There seem to be Trout and offspring all over Doctor Who and Doctor Who related articles on the internet.
Well, him and John apparently just they just had career actors. Because, you've also got Sean Pertwee, who plays Alfred on Gotham. So and then of course you got Georgia Moffat, who's Peter Davidson's daughter, who's appeared in Doctor Who. So apparently, if you're the son of a formerly standing doctor, you're almost a shoo-in to get a role somewhere.
It's apparently genetic.
Makes you wonder what'll happen in 20 years when David Tennant's
when
child,
George's 4 kids.
Yeah. When they get into acting, because they're going to be the grandson of a doctor and the son of a doctor.
The first doctor to travel the universe with his brothers and sisters.
It's like, you got to realize the producers of Doctor Who are just waiting for that kid to come of age. It's like the Potter child to them.
It is the chosen one.
They got to be wondering if they should abduct it away and keep it secret, keep it safe,
And of course, Billy Piper's kid should be coming of age right around that time as well.
Oh boy.
Jeez.
That'll either be cool or it'll be the apocalypse.
What?
Alright. So, are we getting into the news here?
Pretty much.
Go ahead.
Alright. And as a disclaimer, I believe most of our news comes from Doctor Who news, right?
Actually, none of our sources are Doctor Who news this week, although we have a few that we got from Doctor Who news, but we were able to follow them back to the original source, which provided somewhat.
Yeah, you'll notice the disclaimer's no longer on the news document for that exact reason.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's probably going to. That disclaimer's probably going to be more often or not during the regular Doctor Who broadcast season, because they're the one that brings us, not only big news, but they're also going to be bringing us all the, the ratings and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in this off season, we have to fish far and wide to find enough news to actually fill our segment. So.
Okie dokie. Anyway, so BBC Studios director has departed. Radio Times brings us the news that Peter Salmon, director of BBC Studios, is set to depart the BBC. Salmon has worked with the BBC for 35 years and since July 2015 has headed BBC Studios, which is responsible for all in-house BBC productions, including Top Gear and Doctor Who. Salmon will be going on to be Chief Creative Officer at Endemol Shine, an international network of 120 production companies. He will also have direct control over the UK branch. BBC Studios, Salmon says, I agreed with Tony Hall. I would help get BBC Studios successfully through this first phase, establishing a strong senior team, its direction and remit, so this feels like an appropriate time for a successor to come in and take up the baton. I look forward to working over the next couple of months to ensure there are strong foundations and a thorough handover.
I had to do a little research here and check to see if that was the guy that Jeremy Clarkson punched out. No, it's not.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Here's a scary thought. Did Moffat step down from Doctor Who because this position might be coming open?
Oh,
I hope not.
the stink
Because
of Moffat haunting us
He's
all.
better as a writer than he is as a supervisor.
Yeah, pretty much. And even then, so his writing, if he's not given enough time, he needs some
As a
punching
writing
up.
supervisor, I would still say as a producer in terms of marketing, extending the reach of Doctor Who and all of that, he's done a good job. And strictly in terms of overseeing stories seems to be where his weakness comes through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And trying to write his own stories with a trying
While
to
juggling
write
geeks.
a lot of stories in a short period of time. There's people who could do that. People like Stephen King, who could, crank them out, pretty much one right after the other after the other. Stephen Moffat's not one of those people.
Right.
He can do it, but his quality goes through the floor. And we've noticed this, over the years. You give Steven 6 months to do something, he'll have time. But if he only has 2 months, it's generally crap. I hate to say it.
All right, also from the Radio Times, the news has started to break on Class, BBC Three's Doctor Who spin-off. The series starts filming next month, and we can now confirm that Peter Capaldi is scheduled for an appearance, presumably as the Doctor, as we can imagine that neither Malcolm Tucker nor John Frobisher will not be welcome at Cohill School. Also of note in the article is that, according to Radio Times source, the BBC is undecided how the translation to broadcast will proceed. BBC Three is currently online only, meaning that Class will first air online in the UK, but whether it will be broadcast week by week or all at once after that seems to be a decision that has yet to be made. As Doctor Who Series 10 is scheduled to begin filming the following month, it is currently unknown if the 8-part miniseries will be filming at the same time as Doctor Who, or if they will take turns.
I looked through the original article, and I can find no actual confirmation that Peter Capaldi is actually scheduled to appear. It says that he's in line for an appearance, and he has said that he is willing and would like to do an appearance, but I have not heard any confirmation from the BBC that he is actually going to appear.
I think it was mainly the headline where I got that idea from, but yeah, I noticed that their source, their quote doesn't actually say that. I think their quote says not to be surprised. Yeah, their quote says, "Don't be surprised if he does." I would note that this
I've
article
always said, Bill, don't write the article based solely on the headline.
Yeah. I'll also note that this article does have some questionable issues, such as a few areas lacking a source and even lack of spell checks. So this may just be Radio Times typing that up. It's a little hard to tell.
It does look like that. I mean, okay, the drama set in Shoreditch. That's well known. Shoreditch has been the area that Coal Hill School is fictionally existing in. So that makes sense. So I see nothing in here that we really haven't known before. Except for the fact that we now know for sure that it is 45 minutes episodes, not 25 or anything like, the Sarah Jane Adventures spinoff was. So that's all we know thus far, really. No confirmation on who cast is. Although, according to top-level sources, finishing touches are being put in the cast list. Great. Can you give us a name or two?
I really, especially that thing about not knowing where the series, how the series will drop. I really wish that they had given some sort of acknowledgement who the source was, because for all we know, they asked the janitor, and he said, "I don't know."
Yeah. But it doesn't really matter for U.S. viewers.
True, yeah, we'll be getting it on BBC America.
This is being co-produced by BBC America, which
Right.
will air anything they co-produce. That's usually like line one of their co-production agreements.
Right.
So, but for UK people, yeah, that's going to be a little interesting. They'll
get it on Netflix UK Daredevil style.
Well, and I mean, part of this is also the fact that BBC 3 is now online where it did not used to be. It used to be BBC 1, BBC 2, BBC 3, and Channel 4 were all aired networks.
Yeah, because I think it was about a year or so ago. I think we announced had the news that BBC 3 was going online.
And which BBC 3 has been home to a lot of Doctor Who spin-off and rerun material for a long time. Torchwood was BBC 3.
Yep.
I can't remember where Sarah Jane Adventures was because it was in that their youth block.
Right.
But so the fact that this is now online is interesting. I'm wondering if, at the very least, people will be able to red button it.
I'm sure. So. Oh, okay. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hoping so, at least.
Yeah, good times.
Watch it when you want to. Beep.
Cool. Speaking of watching things when people want to, the BBC brings us the news that BBC Worldwide has made a deal to make a wide range of BBC programs ranging from never-before-imported nature documentaries to regularly broadcast sci-fi programs such as Doctor Who Series 9, available through video on demand via Telecom SK Broadband's IPTV service BTV. Doctor Who is currently available in South Korea, yes, this is for South Koreans, in English via BBC Entertainment, and in Korea via KBS.
You know what's funny? I wrote that up and showed it to you, and neither one of us realized that the first line does not have the word South Korea anywhere in it.
Yeah. So by the way, if you're a Doctor Who fan in South Korea, we have good news for you.
Yeah, that would have been a great starter line right there. And as much as good news as this is for people in South Korea, I'm still mildly annoyed because we have to pay for fucking Amazon Prime to get Doctor Who now.
Series 9 is supposed to, I don't know if it actually is, but in theory it's available on bbcamerica.com.
I looked, I didn't see it.
So
it's a master
it
just started an exodus to South
week,
Korea.
I think I said that it had like 3 days left. It was supposed to disappear first of the month.
Amazon Prime is only supposed to be getting series 1 through 8 because 9 is supposed to be on BBC America. So they're not even supposed to be getting 9 on BBC Prime.
So, what? Is frickin' North Korea going to get Doctor Who on an on-demand service before we do?
Yep. That'd be really messed up if it did.
Probably only be available in...
King John Eel says to England, I love your Doctor Who. Oh, kill you all, kill you all. Okay, so, according to BBC America, Doctor Who has 26 full episodes on its website still.
So that should be probably the 2 most recent seasons.
I think so.
Yes, it's showing Series 9, 23 days left, so they might be re-upping it every
On a
month or so.
month-to-month basis? God, that's
Yeah.
kind of anal retentive.
Yeah.
I guess that's to make sure that it doesn't accidentally stay on when it's not supposed to while everything's up in the air.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, folks, the only way to see it for free is to go to BBC right
Interesting,
now.
because when oh, never mind. Oh, it's Series 9 and Series 7? What the fuck? Why are they
Series 7?
skipping Series 8? I'm looking at it right now, and I'm seeing Series 9. You go down the other 13. It's 13 from Series 7, The Husbands of River Song, and 12 from Series 9, which is, I guess, Husbands might as well be part of Series 9, but they're separating it. But why no Series 8?
That's really, really, really dumb because Series 8 is a great starting point for new viewers.
Yes.
Instead, they're going back to, I guess it's probably because it's one of the more popular seasons.
Especially
because
since
of the 50th anniversary.
It's not like you can say the 50th anniversary and the regeneration because they're only going up to Name of the Doctor.
Oh, that's extra dumb.
There's no day and no time.
BBC, the logic button, where is it?
That's like...
Good job, BBC America, completely
dumb.
dropping the ball. It's kind of like when I first watched Doctor Who on Netflix and was confused how it went from Journey's End to the 11th Hour. Well, now fans watching on BBC America can go from Name of the Doctor to The Magician's Apprentice.
To introducing John Hurt to introducing Peter Capaldi.
We're not even introducing Capaldi because it's the start of his second season.
True.
Introducing him the bad way.
Halfway through.
They wouldn't even know who Missy is.
No, they wouldn't.
Really?
I go straight from the Doctor's going to die to the Doctor's going to die.
Yeah.
Well, it's Moffat era. You can pick up any point in the Moffat era, and it's the Doctor's going to die.
Doom, doom.
Think about this. It's absolutely true. 5th season, TARDIS is going to blow up. Assume the Doctor is going to die. 6th season, he's freaking going to be killed by an astronaut at the lake. The entire season. Season 7, he's going to Trenzalore. In fact, season 8 is the only one where the Doctor isn't going to die immediately. I mean, he's in mortal peril a lot because he's the Doctor. But that's the only season he doesn't have the I'm going to die immediately fate thing hanging over his head like a freaking guillotine.
That's because the dead are going to come back to life at the end of the season.
Yes.
So, yeah, don't know what the fuck is going on with American streaming, but I hope they clear that up by the time Series 10 comes around.
Yeah, really. People, please.
It's all a master plan to get people to move to South Korea.
Well, if we ended up with Trump...
Well, to be fair, the election going on this year is also a master scheme to get people to move to South Korea.
Or Canada.
Jinx.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Speaking of which, I would point out I'm not applying for my visa to the UK until after the election, so I might just make it a longer visa if things go too terribly.
I'm not overly concerned because I was looking at, popularity polls and who holds how much stuff. And either one of the Democratic candidates could beat Trump's numbers with what they have right now. So unless stuff really changes in the next few months, I'm not moving anywhere. And I could go with Sanders. I could go with Clinton. I wouldn't care either way. But yeah, Trump, I'm going to say, hey, Mom, do you have a place to build an annex?
Yep. Despite the fact that he's a reality TV star, before we actually get into politics, let's move on.
That's even worse because I hate reality TV.
Yeah. We all do, I think. We've made that statement clear.
If it's not clear yet, I'll get the sledgehammer out.
Well, as a sidebar to
my
politics,
point is at risk of going into politics, into a political discussion.
As a sidebar to politics, you do realize if Trump goes into the White House, there is going to be a show on cable living in the White House.
God damn it.
on like freaking MTV or something.
This place is
It'll be,
huge.
what was his show called again?
The Apprentice?
The one
The
where,
Apprentice.
The Apprentice White House edition.
Yeah, something like that.
Candy Jar Books brings us news of a new nonfiction book. Oh, by Candy Jar Books is a little redundant of a sentence, but that's what happens when I write the news after getting out of class. Written
I
by Mark.
was going to say, you wrote it, your fault.
I was originally citing a different source, which is why the sentence ended up being a little recursive once I changed the source. Written by Mark Brake and John Chase and illustrated by Terry Cooper, Space, Time, Machine, Monster, Doctor Who edition is the follow-up to Brake's book on science fiction of the same name, minus the Doctor Who part. The book looks at important scientific questions in Doctor Who, such as how does a Dalek poo, as well as including top 10 lists on such topics as planets, companions, and catchphrases for fun. The book is available for order now.
Quick poll of the panel here. How many of you have actually asked yourself the question, how does a Dalek poo?
Oh,
Anybody?
God.
I mean,
Anybody?
I've pretty much assumed that their suits take care of waste. So
I-
If you're
I've
wondering
always-
how he eats or breathes or any science facts,
I've
ta-da.
never needed to ask this question, and I've been a Doctor Who fan now for over 30 years.
And now you're just suddenly thinking about it. You can't stop thinking about it, can you?
No, I can stop thinking about it any time. I'm still questioning the value of why I would want to think about it in the first place.
It's like, how does Master Shake pee?
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those questions that you don't need an answer to. You've never wanted an answer, never needed it.
If Davros has an itch on his...
does he also tell you where the loos are in the TARDIS?
If Davros
I
has an
hope there's
itch on
quite a
his
few of
left
them
arm,
because
how does he scratch it?
people tend to get lost in the corridors. So I hope there's actually quite a few loos in the TARDIS.
Doctor, why does this corridor smell?
Why do all of the corridors lead to the swimming pool? Well, I could only afford one restroom, and the swimming pool is chlorinated.
Oh, that's
my.
nasty.
Well, he wouldn't say restroom. They wouldn't say restroom in England, but
The
That's
loo.
a lavatory.
The lavatory.
Okay, I think that's enough on that comment. I'm going to try to ignore the existence of this book and try to keep it out of my mind because, yeah, there are certain questions you could ask that you would never not stop thinking about.
When the
How's
companions
Dalek
walks out of the pool, they
masturbate?
have blue dye on them.
I was thinking more about drashing mating rituals, so yeah, I can't not think about that now.
Wait, what about the Alpha Centauri?
I don't want to think about their mating rituals either.
When a potato
just
loves a
thinking about how
potato
they
very,
poo.
very much, they start rubbing against each other and make a baby clone.
Hot tentacle on tentacle action.
I was just wondering how they pooped.
Their mating rituals, it's like a frickin' Japanese hentai vid right there. All right. So we're going to hopefully, blessedly wrap up the news here with a whole bunch of stuff from Big Finish because unlike the actual BBC, they can actually not keep their mouth shut.
Yay!
Out now is a new short trip narrated by Nicola Bryant. Prime Winner by Nigel Fairs features Perry and the Sixth Doctor taking a trip to the casino. The TARDIS makes a forced landing to a lavish room looking very much like a foyer to a 1930s casino. But games being played in the halls are unlike anything they would find on Earth, and the players are far from human. And then Perry sees her stepfather. Later in 2017, Doctor Who Short Trips brings us Washington Burns, starring Sophie Aldred. The Curse of the Fugue, starring Sheridan Smith. This Sporting Life, starring Peter Purves. Or is that Purvis? And Lost and Found, starring Aniki Willis. Fans of Short Trips can also get a hold of Chris Wing's The Horror at Bletchington Station, starring the First Doctor and Dodo, with a subscription to the main range that includes the Peterloo Massacre.
They brought back Dodo?
Is her actress still alive, or is that a recast? I've actually never thought about who plays Dodo.
Let's see.
Dodo's one of those companions you just kind of mention the name of and just smirk and walk away.
Because she never really had any good enough stories to actually make people care about her. Jackie Lane. She seems to be alive.
So it might be original voice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interestingly, Big Finish did not specifically say who is playing Dodo, but if she's still alive, we can assume it's unless she's incapable of doing a young voice, which I think most women are, at least that are in acting. Then it's probably her.
All right.
I thought Carrie Fisher sounded exactly the same.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Carrie Fisher sounded like she'd spent the last 30 years smoking.
Yeah.
I think she
Which
did.
she mostly did, yes. She actually spent the last 25 years smoking and the last 5 years cleaning up.
Luckily, she did not need to play Leia as a 19-year-old.
Yes.
Also, yeah, they actually have a different actress for that, as seen on Star Wars Rebels. But at least, you know, she cleaned up her act before we had to see Princess Leia with a hole in her throat.
Yeah, that would have made Star Wars really awkward.
Yes, it would
She would
have.
have been cigarette
Taking
smoking
after
woman.
Daddy, are you?
Oh, that's terrible.
That is terrible.
Oh man, the hate mail, Bill. The hate mail.
Bill, the thumbs down we're going to get on this channel.
You would have
The
created
report
Princess
is-
Leia in a Darth Vader breather.
Where's the fair use?
Well, I think the fair use went out the window.
Yeah.
The opinions of Bill, Man in Black Sylvia do not in fact represent the opinions of the rest of the panel. All right. So also coming out, upcoming from Big Finish.
Well, suddenly can't speak.
It's a freaking cold. It's trying to infect my brain.
Yes, it is. Join us, honey.
If I suddenly black out and I wake up and I say in a raspy voice, "Contact has been made," just tune me out of the thing and just go on without me.
All right.
Aaron may also be lost too at that point, because at that point the swarm has us. We're gone. And anybody who gets that reference for a Doctor Who episode that we have not reviewed yet, good for you. All right, so Big Finish brings a solid helping of news featuring their new series ranges. To start up, The Diary of River Song Volume 2 has been announced for January of next year. Excuse me. Producer David Richardson says about the story, "We're thrilled to have both Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy appearing alongside Alex in this box set. I can promise that River and the Doctor might not necessarily be working to the same agenda. In fact, the two Doctors might not be working to the same agenda either." What the fuck?
So, can we guess that in 2018, River Song will appear with Peter Davison and Tom Baker?
Just so that she's with all the Doctors, even though she deliberately says in Silence of the Library that that's the youngest she's ever seen him.
Maybe she's thinking,
just-
speaking figuratively. He's the
She's
quote-unquote
referring to his
youngest.
eyes.
Yeah, or she's referring to his boyish demeanor.
No, she's referring to his eyes. That's how she tells that that's so young. She looks into his eyes and goes, "Oh, wow, you know, I've never seen you this young before." It's,
It's like looking
Finish.
into the
Bad
sun.
Big Finish. The set contains 4 one-hour stories. The Unknown by Guy Adams. 529 by John Dorney. World Enough and Time by James Goss. And Eye of the Storm by Matt Filton. Or Fitton. Among the guest cast for list is Dan Starkey, although has yet been announced whether he'll be playing a Sontaran or a different sort of character. It's Dan Starkey. He'll
Who do
be
you
playing a
think he's gonna be
Sontaran
playing?
of some kind. Whether it's Strax or another Sontaran is a big question.
Let's play
Also
another
announced-
Sontaran and he actually plays the role straight for a change. That'd be great.
Also announced for 2017 are the Winston Churchill Chronicles Volume 2, which means that Volume 1 must have sold fairly well, and Classic Doctors New Monsters Volume 2, both available for pre-order, although lacking any more detailed information.
It's kind of sad that the Winston Churchill Chronicles are the closest thing that we're getting to new Ninth Doctor stories at this point, other than the comics.
Yeah. And thus far, he's the only doctor, only living doctor not to sign on. You know,
And
every other doctor.
Matt Smith hasn't yet.
Although Matt Smith has
can't
said he's
yet.
interested.
He's interested, but I
they
think
have
he
the
has to put a couple stands down.
I know in terms of everything other than the actor, they have the rights of everything up to Time of the Doctor. Anything announced after Time of the Doctor, they don't have the rights to. So I would imagine they have the rights to Matt Smith.
It's kind of weird. The way Big Finish seems to work is that the current Doctor, of course, is persona non grata in their stuff because they don't want to do anything that might be contradicted by later episodes. The previous Doctor is also considered persona non grata, just because his stuff.
The Winston Churchill Chronicles are featuring Matt Smith's stories,
but not yet Matt Smith, which is interestingly enough, it's kind of a very gray area.
Now, what I'd hope to see, if nothing else, is that either Billy Piper or John Barrowman or even Noel Clarke, if he's available, do some companion chronicles if they can't get Chris.
I'm honestly hoping that they do get, Matt Smith in there. I'm pretty sure part of it might have been because he's been in LA for a while too, doing, trying to do movies and stuff.
Right.
But his movie career is apparently not going anywhere.
He could always swing by Barrowman's trailer and, do a couple audios.
Quote unquote humor him. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Yes, John, they need you on the set. Do you mind if I borrow your laptop for 4 or 5 hours? Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. I've got to be out there to do Arrow.
See you later, Sean. See you later. Hello.
I'm surprised they haven't gotten Matt Smith on Arrow yet, or somewhere in the Arrowverse.
I'm waiting for him to show up somewhere in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. As long as he doesn't show up as a cyborg, because then we'll be getting into Terminator crossover territory.
No, but I want him to show up as one of frickin' Rip Thorne's Time Master heads.
Rip Hunter, you mean?
Yeah, Rip Hunter. What did I say? Rip Thorne? Sorry, my brain's.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
It's the cult. It's the cult.
You want him to be Rory's old mentor or something?
Something like that. Well, no, we already had Rory's old mentor, and he turned out to be a dick. But I'd like to actually see one that's Simmy on his side. Or even yet, just out of sheer WTFness, I'm going to say this now, Matt Smith is Booster Gold.
But we want Nathan.
Yeah! I would go for Matt Smith, too. Just for the sheer mental what-the-fuckedness. And I think Matt Smith could do Cheesy Hammy pretty good, too.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so our final 2 news pieces. Our trailer news. Big Finish brings us the trailer for the 10th Doctor Adventures, in which the Doctor sounds a wee bit more Scottish than we remember. No new information here that wasn't in previous releases, unless you count the clip of Donna talking about the TARDIS wardrobe that was released a few months back.
Oh.
Also, we get to hear David Tennant's TARDIS.
I didn't actually. Apparently, I didn't finish that sentence. Again, apologies for that's what happens when you're writing after being in class all day. It was supposed to say, unless you count the clip of Donna talking about the TARDIS wardrobe, it's the first time we've heard any sound of a new Doctor story, of a new 10th Doctor story since Day of the Doctor. But apparently, I just cut that sentence off in the middle.
Okay. So also we get to hear David Tennant's TARDIS impression, which is ridiculous.
I think either Cultbox or Radio Times or somebody did a whole article about the fact that David Tennant did a TARDIS impression, but
I thought he had done one before, like on Weakest Link or something.
I know he did the backdrop for John Barrowman singing the theme song.
I know he did that too, but I thought he'd also did a TARDIS impression, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I'm actually kind of thrilled about 10th Doctor Adventures, especially if it's with Donna Noble, because frickin' best era of Doctor Who ever, as I mentioned last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I accidentally heard this trailer earlier today, by the way, too, and I was quite thrilled, especially by the end of that.
So the way they've been doing their audios, I'm a little surprised we haven't heard of Alex Kingston being announced for this, but I'm sure she'll be in the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 2.
I like Alex Kingston.
I don't like
River
River's
Song.
song, so.
I've grown to like River Song over the time. She's almost like, I don't know, it's almost kind of comforting to see her now.
It depends upon the era that she's, or the season she's in.
No.
I still haven't seen the latest Christmas special, by the way.
Shame.
It's freaking March! It's March, honey! It's been sitting on the DVR now for a little over 2 months.
Freaking
I'll watch it in June here. How about that? I'll watch it in June.
Christmas in June.
I'm gonna have it on frickin' Blu-ray in a few weeks.
Take it all, Aaron.
She'll watch it at GeekCon.
I'll watch it next Christmas. We'll make it a marathon.
So, the second trailer is for Gallifrey Enemy Lines, which is narrated by a mysterious figure that may be a sister of Karn, or it may be one of the frickin' females that were sitting in the back at End of Time, or fuck if we know. The trailer features Ace with that's supposed to be Lala Ward's Romana. Bad Bill.
I wrote Lala. It says L-A-L-L-A.
Yeah, there's one L.
Oh.
Juliet Landos, which will hopefully make sense in the story. The trailer is altogether grim as Romana and friends once again face the destruction of Gallifrey, this time a result of Ace's involvement with the Hand of Ogama.
It is 2 L's.
Omega. I don't know. My brain may be off, but I don't. It doesn't look right to me.
It's not my fault.
This has been an interesting. This has been an
This
interesting
one's
episode
not my
today.
fault.
What, was that an actual error? No, actually, no, that is correct. Why does that not look right to me? I've seen her name forever.
We can blame your sickness.
I don't know. It might be just be the font makes it look weird. I don't know.
Seltzer's a hell of a drug, apparently.
Healthy seltzer.
Anyway,
know,
what's Ace's involvement with the Hand of Omega? So, apparently this is part of the whole Gallifrey series that they've been doing, and I've not been paying attention to because it's too expensive for me to own.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to pick up Gallifrey. The problem is they're not all in order, but there's enough connected that I would need to be able to drop 100 at a single time, which I really cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason I'm not subscribing to Gallifrey every time it comes out right now.
I heard some of like Series 1 or Series 2 of it way back when I had a massive amount of Big Finish stuff through.
That was back when it was less linear and less connected. I think they were more separate stories at that point.
I can't remember. I do remember. I think the episode that had like both K9s, Leela and Romana. That's all I remember.
And Zagreus was sort of the pilot for Gallifrey too, so you might be.
It's possible. I know I had Zagreus.
Yeah. They basically took what happened in Zagreus and spun it into a new spin-off.
Yeah. I've quoted Zagreus in the podcast a few times in the past. Mostly because that nursery rhyme is damn earwormy. Anyway, I don't have any releases on dates or times for these. Just the trailers are out. So go to bigfinish.com, have a listen for both of them, and you can make your own decision. And that's really it for the news.
Oh.
Aaron, I believe you said or actually, I don't know if Rand did or not, but any spoiler-free thoughts on the Gotham mid-season premiere?
Nothing really yet. It's part of a 2-part episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard, for us to say
Right.
anything. Their take on Victor Freeze is kind of interesting. Because that's the main villain, and we've known that since last season.
Okay.
It's kind of weird. I want to know how he gets his technology. Because it's not like the firebugs we saw previously, where they just kind of cobbled together a flamethrower.
Mm-hmm. They are using the majority of what has now been considered the new classic Victor Freeze backstory with Nora Freeze and everything, but this Victor's a little more of a monster off the bat than the original Victor Freeze.
Yeah, he's pretty much all scientist he
So
wants.
so are you saying he's ice cold?
Bill?
I grew up on Arnold Schwarzenegger Freeze. I had to make a bad pun.
Arnold Schwarzenegger Freeze is an abomination.
I grew up on the animated one.
Like the Abominable Snowman?
Well, Victor Freeze, or Dr. Freeze, was such a B villain. He was even a C-list Batman villain. He was a joke villain. So much so that he didn't even have the name Mr. Freeze until the frickin' Adam West series. The campy one. Where they changed his name from Mr. Zero to Mr. Freeze. And even then he was a joke character until Paul Dini for Batman the Animated Series goes, we need to build something more about this. Let's reimagine this character like this. And when DC Comics saw what Dini made, they went, that's awesome! Why didn't we think about doing that with the character? And they retconned the entire Mr. Freeze backstory in the comic books to make it more like Paul Dini's Mr. Freeze. And then Joel Schumacher comes around and turns it back.
Well, he kept some of the elements of it, but he
kept
turned
some of the tragic elements of the character,
of it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nora Freeze is in the Schwarzenegger version.
Yes, she is, but Schwarzenegger's whole personality
is back to where the Mr. Freeze used to be.
Yeah, because the Mr. Freeze that Paul Dini imagined was pretty much ice cold, emotionless. So
whereas Schumacher was pretty much trying to make an Adam West movie without Adam West.
Yeah. And
which Adam West is seen over here pissed.
Yeah, because it was just an abomination. It was just something. I don't like thinking of those two movies. I occasionally will take a look at Val Kilmer's Batman and George Clooney's Batman.
You know what?
I try to ignore the rest of the movie.
Those movies were basically my introduction to the Batman mythos, so I can't separate them.
I am so sorry, Bill.
Goddamn Bill.
Now, if the original '89 Batman and '91 Batman, those were decent introductions.
Yep.
Yep, I was introduced via the Adam West TV show.
I was introduced via Adam West, but I first got my real taste of really giving him attention when I saw the first two Batman '90s movies.
I think my original introduction to Batman might have been Scooby-Doo.
Oh, that too. Although I'm pretty sure I saw Adam West first.
I don't remember which one I saw first, but I remember the old Scooby-Doo movies with special guest Batman and Robin. And, of course, the old Challenge of the Super Friends. And
we don't have any Scooby snacks for you, but how would you like some bat snacks?
You're saying that if they couldn't get Adam West, why couldn't they at least have gotten William Shatner?
I still say to this day Patrick Stewart would have made the greatest Mr. Freeze.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Picture it. Make it happen, internet.
Internet, yes, please help make this happen.
Patrick
Matt, you got
Stewart,
Photoshop.
It would be the best Mr. Freeze movie ever made.
because he can do that cold, calculating attitude. You
Locutus.
just put the frickin' red,
Yeah.
the glowy red glasses on him, and put him in a fishbowl, essentially.
God, now I need to find a picture of Locutus and Photoshop him.
Mm-hmm.
It would be beautiful.
Especially since he's not the professor anymore, so.
I still have issues with that because he's still the professor in my mind. The actor that they've got to play him, I cannot remember his name. I just saw him on frickin' Graham Norton the other night.
Damn it,
he had-
Deadpool said his name too.
McAvoy.
McAvoy, there we go.
McAvoy.
Yeah, he has a movie coming out with Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter.
By the way, I did crack up in the theater when Deadpool mentioned Professor X.
Yes, that was one of my favorite parts of that movie. We're going to see the professor. Stewart or McAvoy? Damn timelines are confusing.
Don't ruin all the jokes for me, damn it.
That's why I wasn't
right,
going
Matt.
to spoil it. I was just leaving the hints.
I was hoping to see this last weekend, but I won't be able to.
There's nothing in Deadpool to be considered a spoiler. It's just jokes.
True.
I was hoping to see the movie this
why I
last
wasn't
week.
afraid to look at spoilers myself because I knew it wasn't going to ruin anything.
We actually went through the movie the other day at one of my gaming sessions, and it's like, there's nothing in this movie that could be considered a spoiler. I think it was 2 weeks ago Saturday, because I think Sarah was there. But still, it was, it's I can understand why you wouldn't want the entire thing spoiled, but, I kept getting lines thrown at me the Monday before I saw it. And I'm just like, and they didn't tell me that they were Deadpool lines. And it still didn't spoil the movie for it. I still saw it twice, so. And Aaron and I would be going out to see it in IMAX, in the next couple of days if I wasn't sick as a dog.
I'm sorry, honey.
Anyway, it's 5-2, so we should probably get to our 5-minute challenge. Who wants to do it? Not me.
Not me.
I'm already starting to get the bees in my nose feel. So,
Trying
who's
to fight
volunteering?
sleep.
Okay.
Are we doing Tim?
I guess I can do it if no one else wants to.
Thank God I can talk again then. Didn't want to draw attention to myself.
I don't know. It's like you're going to an auction. You have to stand absolutely still, otherwise they'll think you're bidding. Like if you accidentally sneeze. No, I don't want to.
And now you're out $10,000. And a 5-minute challenge.
Yes.
All right, so Tim volunteered.
Alright, yeah, I got the stopwatch. Ready, Tim?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
There's lights in the sky. Sarah Jane and her kids that stay with her go to investigate, and they find a Sontaran, and the Sontaran is trying to bring down all the satellites on Earth and blow up the nuclear reactors, but they stop them. The end.
Wow.
Wow.
That's like a 20-second challenge.
Not even. I think that was 15.
You got
'Cause
that,
I
Tim.
lost a couple seconds on my end from just being stunned at how short he made that.
You got that, Tim, in 17 seconds, .41.
I had 1778, so.
And I was ready on that one because I suddenly realized what he was doing.
I realized
you
it
missed
too,
it.
but my reactions were too slow. Sick.
Oh, I forgot to mention the guy gets a job offer in America. I messed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that
One
wasn't really
second.
important because it was a subplot to the Sarah Jane Adventures series that wasn't really important to the episode.
Yeah, I assumed it was part of being the season premiere, and I assumed that meant that character was being put on a bus.
Yes, she was. Well, not really so much of a bust. She showed up in a few later episodes, but only like over video phone. Or would be mentioned. So it wasn't completely like she left on the bus and they never even thought of her again. So because they bring in Ronnie next not the Ronnie, a person by the name of Ronnie next episode that kind of begins to fill her role.
This episode had kind of a simplistic plot, though, I thought.
Well, mind you, this is a show that's meant for younger viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is a little simplified. And it's why they have a lot more kids dealing with it or in the thick of it, because it's meant for it's really meant for pre-adolescents. But nonetheless, it is part of the Doctor Who canon.
Mm-hmm. Literally
So,
a cannon that fires Doctor Who.
Yeah.
People.
it would be the way to stop all alien invasions. Anyway. So, actually, let me get out my D4. And we will, once again, be divvying up stuff to do best of, worst of. And according to my D4, the person up first for what they liked best about this serial, because this technically is counting as a serial because it was a two-parter, is Bill.
See, and here I forgot about the die and was assuming that somebody would go first to get the thoughts moving. But I do have, I think, what I'm going to say for what I like, and that is the fact that it manages to be a sequel to the Doctor Who episode, which would be the Sontaran Stratagem of the Poison Sky, yet it can still be watched without having seen it. So I like that they actually managed to find that middle ground that is so often missed.
True. They managed to sum up pretty much everything that's needed from the episode, including a few scenes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In about what? About a 3-minute summary? Which is still better than ours. But really, they only need to do it from the Sontaran's point of view anyway, so...
Right.
But yeah, they managed to do that. And it continues on right where it left off, although that does raise a few issues. Like, why does this Sontaran have better armor technology than the people in Sontaran Stratagem if they were from the same fleet at the same time? And he's been stuck on Earth ever since? Because you notice none of the Sontarans in Poison Sky and them had the self-removing helmet.
Well, he was supposed to be a special unit, though, too, apparently. So that might be the excuse they could give.
Oh yeah, well, I know he did mention that he was this decorated hero. He has the title and the scar on his eye, so yeah, it could be something like that. He just gets better stuff.
So really, his name should have been what was his name?
Cog.
I wasn't sure if that was an accent thing or if there was an R there or not. Like if it was Cog or Carg or. Actually, yeah, I should probably look that.
I am actually looking that up right now.
Okay.
Cog.
COG?
No, Kaagh.
Ah.
Cog.
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 Sounds Klingon.
Said with the it sounds very Klingon actually. And it is one of the only two Sontarans we have. Well, actually, no. I think we have a few more with K's now. But mostly they start with S's. And then there's, I think, a second group that's K's, and then we have one Lynx who's like way the hell out there.
He's also the only one we know from the ancient past, so there might be a
Yeah.
pattern.
Anyway, let's see. He was Cog, known as Cog the what?
Was it the Slayer?
Yeah.
Cog the he wanted to be known as Cog the Avenger.
That's what he said he was going to be once he succeeded. Yes, Cog the Slayer.
Yeah.
Was his title prior to the episode. He even mentioned that he was part of the Special Assault Squad.
So Special Assault Squad has fancy helmets that remove themselves.
So really, he should be Cog the Privileged. All right, so we're up next to what we like about this episode, and that is Aaron.
What else did I like about this episode? Forgot to bring up my notes. Okay. I do like how it is tied to the previous episode. Anyone said that yet?
Yeah, Bill.
Bill just covered that.
Bill! Oh, actually, I like the set design. I think it's well lit and very colorful, actually. I mean, of course, it's a children's show, so it's, well, more kid-based than Doctor Who or Torchwood, anyway. Torchwood always had those kind of glum, very realistic, gray, kind of almost drab sets most of the time. Not all of the time, but most of the time.
Less so in the new
real-world
series,
feeling.
but
Yeah. And then Doctor Who, of course, had kind of a mixture of real world kind of drab, and then when they went to the alien worlds, or even back in time, everything seemed to appear a little bit more colorful and intriguing. Whereas here, it's very. I really like the lighting in the laboratory, I should say, or the observatory. I thought that was pretty cool.
all right. Next up would be Tim.
I really liked Cog himself. I thought they did a good job of making him menacing enough to be a threat, but like sort of like downgrading it because this is like you said, a kids show.
Actually, I found him to be more menacing than most of the Sontarans in Sontaran Stratagem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was more because the Sontaran Stratagem, they went over the top into camp.
Yeah.
Where
was
you know,
like
because they're sitting there chanting Sontar Ha repeatedly over and over, and while he did this, he only ever did it once, like it was a exclamation for him, not a freaking religious service.
Yeah, I think a grand total of the 2 episodes he did twice, if not maybe a slight
Twice,
towards
maybe
the third
3
one.
times, but it was always punctuating a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because RTD liked to have everybody follow the Daleks in terms of chanting their catchphrase, and that did not happen in this episode.
No, I really liked that in this episode, where he was a little more threatening, a little more menacing, and he wasn't Dan Starkey, which is always a plus. Not that there's nothing wrong with Dan Starkey, but I get sick of him playing the same Sontaran with different names.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most of that's bad writing from Moffat. This is what my feeling is on that.
Well, it wasn't just Moffat; it was RTD too. So, anyway,
I don't think Strax. Well, I mean, I think Dan Starkey played someone in the Poison Sky, but at least the Strax and everything else was not introduced until Moffat.
Yeah.
wasn't Moffat, but he also played a Sontaran in End of Time.
Yeah, but I don't think he was comedic. I think he was just pretty much
No,
there.
but
and
he's
gone.
sitting there licking his lips in anticipation of shooting Martha. It was still pretty campy.
Yeah.
But this guy, this actor, Anthony O'Donnell, did a damn good job and was
I'll say
properly
that.
threatening. It felt like a proper Sontaran to me.
Yeah.
Don't be stealing mine all the way through here.
What?
Because it gave him a menacing scar. Scars are menacing. Scars on aliens are menacing.
All right. So speaking of that, Matt, you're up fourth, and you're the one that didn't want to be first all the time.
Yeah, but he started just talking about the Sontaran, and then you just kept branching out further and further. Because my main thing was that I liked the fact that they actually, despite being a kids show, actually brought the threat level back.
Yes.
They brought it back in huge ways with this
The thing
just
is,
once on Sontaran, because just the way even Sarah Jane reacts to finally seeing the ship and going, "Oh no, we need to kind of get out of here now. I know who this is. This is a lot of trouble. I don't care that I don't normally talk to Unit, but they need to be here pronto. We need to
well,
move."
that is actually fairly indicative to the Sarah Jane adventures. Not always the fact that you need to get out of here as a threat, but the threat was usually pretty tangible. There were some episodes where it was a bit stupid. But there's some episodes of Torchwood and Doctor Who where it's a bit stupid too. Need I to bring up the sex alien from like the second episode of Torchwood?
Yeah.
Need I bring up the creature from the planet Clum?
Cyberwoman?
No. No, I'm actually talking Doctor Who at this point.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Torchwood.
I talked about Torchwood with the sex alien, then I switched back to Doctor Who. There's been stupid aliens on both parts of it.
Verboids.
Oh yeah, but the Slovene went from Doctor Who to Sarah Jane, where they actually fit in nicely because they were able to be menacing without being campy.
Yeah.
They fit in with the kids' mentality, and you could focus less on that and focus on the.
On them actually being a menace to these children.
Mm-hmm.
And one woman.
And the threat is even bigger because you know when you're watching an episode of Doctor Who that the Doctor's right there.
Doctor's right there. He's always got a plan. Even if he doesn't have a plan right away, he'll have a plan.
Yep.
This
is Sarah Jane and family. They're a bunch of humans. There's no aliens on the good guy team.
And at the very best, Sarah Jane has like essentially a weak sonic screwdriver.
Yeah.
And that's all she's got.
She has a low-powered sonic screwdriver disguised as lipstick.
Although she's not, there is there's that level where if she could get fully away, she could bring Unit to bear. But even then, they're able to keep her from getting that far. Yeah.
This is the Russell T Davies era.
That's her last ditch. The world is about to end resort.
Yeah, this is the Russell T Davies era. So Unit is usually considered to be a competent, gun-happy trigger.
Yeah, but she might know Martha's there. She might. I don't know.
She might know that Martha's there, but also the fact that Unit should have enough men available at any given time to be able to handle one Sontaran. You would think.
Anyway, that brings me to my favorite thing, which is once again watching Elizabeth Sladen in action. There are some parts in here which she gets some very good character growth, other than playing, basically because she is the Doctor equivalent in this.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets, and it shows a lot in here where
she gets some Doctor lines in there too.
Oh yes, she does. She gets some Doctor lines. She gets that point. She gets to play one part Doctor, one part Den Mother, and she does it rather beautifully, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I will always say that Elizabeth Sladen was a talent, and it's a shame that she's no longer with us. Thus said, let's move on to things we don't like.
Sticking to the same list, or are we switching
I'll
up?
stick with the same list. Bill, you're up first this week.
The I don't know her name. The mother.
Oh, yeah.
The
main girl's mother. I can't remember her name off the top of my head either.
Chrissy Jackson was the character name.
Yeah, she was annoying pretty much.
Maria's mother
spoke. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really when I saw her, she was pretty much somebody else's caricature of Jackie Tyler.
I take it she was a main character of season 1.
A supporting character. I wouldn't call her a main.
Yeah, the father was around more often than she was all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, if you notice, the doctor or the father was clued into what was going on. He knew about Mr. Smith and all that, so he was there more often, and he was supposed to be the cool parent, where she was the one that had to be kept in the dark because she wouldn't understand.
So she was the what's her name? Wilf's daughter, Donna's mother.
Yes, that same kind of trope character. And yeah, I was never overly fond of that particular actress.
Then again, she wasn't given much to really work with that character either.
No, she wasn't. The next one brings in 2 new parents, I believe. Or is it just one?
At
Because
least one, if not two.
you get Ronnie, Chandra, and I think it's Haresh and Jita, and they're less caricature-y, so they're better off. So really, I think Maria's departure was something that was a benefit for the series, not because you lost Maria, but because you lost her parents, at least her mother. All right, so Aaron, what was your least favorite thing about the episode?
Trying to think. I guess, I don't know. I didn't really specifically hate any major or even specific thing too much. I guess the mind control stuff, I was expecting them to be clones, but then one Sontaran isn't really going to be able to make like a whole clone like what they did on Poison Sky.
Yeah,
With
and
Martha.
instead there was a whole mind control aspect, which was actually harkened back to Time Warrior when you think about it.
Yeah.
Which of course would have been something Sarah Jane would have immediately been familiar with because it was used on the Doctor.
Actually, it harkens back to both of Sarah Jane Sontaran outings. Because I think there was probably a little, although more subtle, of it done in Sontaran.
Oh yeah, when he was doing to bring out the fear and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the only thing. It's kind of more realistic because you only have one soldier left, so he can really only do so much. And the fact that he was able to do even this much damage to get his revenge, that's actually quite a bit of an accomplishment.
That goes to prove how good the Sontarans are when they're not being used as a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Bill.
We're at best scene.
No, wait, no, I'm sorry. Tim.
I thought it was kind of awkward the way they handled the moving to America thing. Like, everyone had a really weird reaction, or maybe that was just me, because I haven't really seen a lot of episodes of Sarah Jane Adventures. Like, I thought Sarah Jane's reaction was kind of stilted and awkward. It's like,
Well, that was kind of on purpose.
Yes, it was. That was deliberately stilted and awkward, and it really, and I was actually going to put that in one of my best scenes, and I still might, was probably because of the fact that this is the point where Sarah Jane has to deal with seeing things from the Doctor's point of view, has to deal with saying goodbye. Okay. And I think in a way, part of that is her mind going, oh my God, this is what it's like, and kind of ticking off, you know? Because you have these people that you literally see through hell, you know? Well, sometimes actually, literally, yes. And then suddenly they're going to be leaving. They're going to be out of your life. And for Sarah Jane, I think that's the first time she's ever had a major person other than the Doctor who she basically goes through hell with them, becomes their bona fide, they become bona fide companions, and they leave. So
Mm-hmm.
she did not know how to handle it, which is why it was so stilted and forced, because she was trying to make it casual, like the doctors seemed to do, but she didn't realize that, the doctors had hundreds of years of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really it was deliberately supposed to be hollow
Mm-hmm.
and vague, and she gets called out on it. So
Mhm.
for me, that made a lot of sense from that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, like it was probably me.
But I also get your point on that, Bill, Tim, because wow, now I'm doing it. I get your point on it though, Tim, because some of the boys were very obviously kind of thick. They needed it spelt out for them, whereas Sarah Jane got it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, they did.
So Matt, your least favorite thing?
My least favorite thing. It's more of a nitpick, but where did the? It felt like a child safe version of Predator. This story. Everything from invisible ships to invisible aliens that are predatory and will hunt on
If
people.
if it bleeds, we can make it leave.
Where the hell did a Sontaran get a cloaking device? And a personal cloak, for that matter, because
Personal cloak and a ship cloak, yeah.
Mhm.
Because that's new.
we've never seen Sontarans with that kind of technology.
Also,
Again.
using the binoculars, kind of almost semi-resembling the heat vision of the predators, and also the actual cloaking effect is very similar to how they did it in the Predator
Yeah.
movies.
Again, though, that's nothing we've seen Sontarans have before. So for me, it was basically like freaking, like I said, Cog the privilege.
Yeah, he apparently was extremely privileged to have all this random stuff that none of the other Santarans seem to use.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, that would have made for a fight that the unit would have never won, Poison Sky or not.
Oh, fuck no.
Mm.
Unit
Well,
doesn't have...
maybe like they have strict rules on the usage of these things, like only
Well-
use if you are the last surviving Sontaran of an invasion.
Unit was going to lose Poison Sky anyway until the Doctor blew up the fleet.
True.
No, they would not have. Torchwood would have intervened. It would have cost all of Torchwood 3. And
Oh, that's right.
and Jack Harkness and I think it was one of the other ones would have been taken hostage by the Sontarans, but they would have stopped the invasion. And all of this would have been true if Donna had turned left.
Wibbly wobbly,
All
timey
right,
wimey.
so my least favorite scene, or my least favorite bit, is also the going to America bit. But my thought is it would have been better if they had actually, instead of dragging it throughout the entire episode, just truncated it to like a 5 to 10 minute bit at the end, like you would a classic Doctor Who episode.
Which,
know?
of course, has so often been our complaint about how the companion departure was sprung out of nowhere.
Yes,
but yeah,
but
it actually would have made sense here.
Yes, it would have made a lot more sense here.
And I think part of the reason they might have done it is to kind of ease the grieving process for the kids in the audience, since it is toward a younger audience. They have the whole they have 2 episodes to deal with it rather than 5 minutes.
It still, I think, might have made the transition smoother, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because here it just kind of hangs over like a guillotine the entire episode. So, and you had to devote, a good 15, 20 minutes. Well, not 15, 20 minutes, but I would say a good 10 to 15 minutes. When you could have done 3-4 minutes at the end of it, and had it be done with.
See your point. Not quite so sure I agree, but I see where you're coming from.
It's one of those things that, I could see them if this would have been a 4-part serial, like a classic Doctor Who episode length. I could see doing it like this would be fine, because you could take that 10 minutes interspaced throughout there and not have to not have to take so much time away from the rest of the story, but because they had to take 10 minutes from a 45-minute story to deal with this we're going to the United States bit, it kind of meant that what would have been normally a 40-minute story became a 30 to 25-minute story.
Well, part of that was Sarah Jane having so many companions that all of them needed to have the news broken to them separately.
Like I said, you'd put it at the end. They could have lumped it all at once.
Mhm.
All right. So, favorite scene, Bill. Or, was it Bill first? Yeah, it was Bill
Yeah.
first.
I've been debating this, and I think I'm going to go with the scene where, of course, it would help if I would actually look at names of people before I talk about the scenes that they're in. But when we were first introduced to the astronomer and his daughter, and I feel like it was just a very realistic way of the daughter dealing with it, as you know, her father's trying to pull her toward one science and her mother's pointing toward the other, and she's just like, trying to stay neutral in between without actually coming down on one side, and I like the way that was handled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was a decent introductory scene, and it didn't felt like it was overly, um, that they went too far with it in any particular direction.
Mm-hmm.
It actually could have been a proper, normal person scene.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't like he was over the top, over aggressive either, but he was the way you'd kind of see a normal father in that type of situation being.
All right. So, Aaron, your favorite scene?
Hmm. I'm trying to think. Let me see if I can find it here in my notes.
That's not notes. That's Yowie.
No, actually, I do actually have a favorite scene, and that's actually going to be the final scene where they let him live. Which is, it's consistent with the children's story, or with the kids' story. As Bill said that they, we release him.
We totally beat you. We stopped your plans of world destruction. Bye now.
Yeah, bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Of course, that's what the Doctor
Don't forget
always
the rest.
tries to do. They just try to kill him at the last second.
And usually has to kill them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
So,
second chances.
I
That's the
was
doctor I am.
I was kind of surprised with that. This is actually the first time I've ever seen Sarah Jane Adventures, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect. After watching Torchwood and Doctor Who, I was fully expecting Sarah Jane to press a button after Sontaran took off, and we'd see the ship explode outside in the outside in the atmosphere. And she'd be like, "Oh, sorry, kids, I have no idea what happened there."
No. Sarah's a woman of her word. She's not an asshole.
She pretty much runs her bit with the mental thought of what would the Doctor do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is usually what the doctor would do, and this time, this particular alien did not actually attempt another death attack.
Yeah, and I was actually, I was kind of surprised that it actually went the way that she expected it to. We didn't see Sontaran turn around and try to fire on the Earth or whatever, some horrible...
Well, I believe they also mentioned the fact that they completely disarmed him and just giving him his ship back so he can just go away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think what they did is they had him tied up. He was a prisoner in his ship and had to leave.
Although
but
apparently
they untied him before they put him in his ship.
Okay.
Because I saw one of the kids messing with whatever they had tied him up in.
I figured he'd be back to Sontar where he would be all dishonored and everything.
Or he'd just go somewhere else where he could rearm, re-prepare, and then go attempt Earth again.
Speaking of which, instead of going to Sontar, apparently he goes to the season finale, which we do not have scheduled for next week. So maybe sometime in the future we'll take a look at that.
Oh,
I made sure to get a copy of that too, actually, because I noticed that in the list.
He returned in the finale?
Yeah, he turned in the season finale for Sarah Jane on this.
I didn't realize
honestly
it until
didn't
we were
realize
looking at.
that.
Yeah, I didn't know until we were
Oops.
looking at his TARDIS data core entry, and it mentioned him palling around with the villain from that episode.
Matter of fact, yeah, he's with the other new main villain woman that was introduced in the pilot episode. I'll even share a picture.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good serial. Because that's also Nicholas Courtney's last appearances, Alistair Lethbridge Stewart.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he was sometime in the Sarah Jane Adventures was his last episode.
Yeah, so much that we don't
So
even
maybe,
know about.
so maybe on Nicholas Courtney's birthday we can take a look at that.
That would be interesting, yeah. The last hurrah
When
of
is Nick
Lethbridge
Courtney's
Stewart.
birthday? When is Nick Courtney's birthday?
I know it hasn't been recently.
Because I remember reporting it.
It is December.
December.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a little while to plan for that then.
Yeah.
It's the week. We would probably be doing it about the week before the Christmas special or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is we're normally like looking for filler episodes at that time anyway. So
Yep.
Perfect.
Perfect slot.
Perfect. I'll pencil it in.
Scheduling.
It is fun.
When the plan falls right in your lap.
Well, we're going to be hurting because, we've got nothing, no Doctor Who this year. We've got Class. Yeah. We've got Class somewhere on the
somewhere
schedule, which is
in
going
the
to be
autumn,
8.
but we don't know exactly when.
Mm-hmm. We technically have programming through GeekCon and a little after scheduled, although we have noted that somewhere in there Class may have to be pasted in, but it may not start until October.
For all we know.
Yeah.
For all the BBC is letting us know.
Thank you, BBC.
They have a tendency not to announce it until like
the month before.
Yeah.
And even then, I'll say coming that next month, and then it's 2 weeks before or something. All right, so where were we? I'm sick. Humor me. Who was it that did their?
I think Erin had just done her something.
Okay, Tim. Then.
My favorite scene was the one where I think the computer Mr. Smith made that joke about how if everything that looked like a UFO actually was a UFO, there would be a gridlock all the way
to Jupiter.
To Jupiter and
to the rings of Saturn, I think.
The rings of Saturn.
To the rings of Saturn, and Sarah Jane says, "I believe you're developing a sense of humor, Mr. Smith." And Mr. Smith says, "I will run a diagnostic."
Now,
see when I listened to that scene, my first thought was he needs to narrate the next edition of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Things to note is that previously, at the season finale last year, Mr. Smith had briefly gone evil.
And so the previous story then.
Yes, and was forced to basically do a refresh from scratch with the assistance of K9. So this is really kind of Mr. Smith Mark II. And apparently this one has more of a sense of humor than his previous incarnation, who was pretty deadpan. Was pretty much the straight man, yes. Although the ability to come out to fanfare did follow through. No matter how often Sarah Jane told him that he didn't need to play it. All right, then, Matt, your favorite scene.
Oh, my favorite scene is much like any decent scene in Predator. All of a sudden, you see the monster, or what little you can see of it, and you just get Luke and I forget what the other boy's name is.
Luke and
Mickey Jr.
Yeah, he is.
Mickey Jr.
He is very much a Mickey trope. Clive or Clyde?
Well,
Clyde Langer.
I think Clive had a little more guts to him than Mickey did.
Clyde.
Clyde.
Like left turn Clyde.
Clyde had a little bit more guts to him than Mickey ever did, to be honest.
He
He was
does.
he was constantly mouthing off to the Potato Man,
Um,
which made him easy for that dub in the opening, by the way.
So he's
Uh,
more like Ricky.
he
he's more like Ricky.
he kind of is because he's also, I believe, the class delinquent.
Mm-hmm.
The
Kinda.
interesting part is that the Ronnie's father coming in the episode after that is the new headmaster for their school, and there's a very not necessarily uh I hate you relationship, but very distrusting and disliking, especially the fact that once Ronnie gets in with Sarah and that means that Clyde and Ronnie start hanging out a lot, which the father definitely disapproves of. It adds a
Mm.
little more adversarial relationship there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that definitely adds a lot more character depth. But yeah, that particular scene where he just comes out, it's still invisible, and you're just barely seeing the Sontaran edges. It's like, oh boy, is he going to open fire? He seems to be studying the kids still. The kids don't know what quite they've run into, and all of a sudden he just uncloaks, and they just instantly look at this armored form and go, "Okay, this is bad." Then he lifts
Um,
up a gun. This is really bad. Run.
Now, yeah, and it's the look on Sarah Jane's face when she sees that.
Oh, that's the other scene a little bit later, which is also as good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just the reactions from Sarah Jane in that scene too are priceless. Because
hmm
it's literally all of the clever writing going into this as she's having mental flashes of everything she's gone through with the Santarns before.
Because you mentioned this, and that's a separate scene. I am going to then make that my favorite scene is when she sees that,
Mm-hmm.
because mind you, this is the Sarah Jane who just a few months ago
Devil
had
Daleks.
to deal with Davros.
Oh, was it? Oh
And
yeah, yeah. Davros was there too.
yeah,
I
Davros and
was
the Daleks.
that's right. I was gonna ask what do you remember? Do you know what months series
This
4
series
was aired?
immediately follows series 4. So, Doctor Who was a summer airing as of this. This
So
would have
this
been followed
literally would have
by
come up right
Torchwood.
this okay. Because I know
Uh,
this episode aired in September, according to TARDIS Data Core.
oh,
Yeah,
this
this.
episode aired in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is like really early fall stuff.
Okay, so then this immediately followed series 4.
Got you. So it was like Journey's End, and then maybe a week break or something like that, and then this.
Basically, let's see. This started at 29th September. Checking Journey's End.
Okay.
Because yeah, I remember Sarah Jane being very early fall, and then like Doctor Who was early spring, and Torchwood when Torchwood was on was kind of in the middle.
It looks like in this particular season, Journey's End it was 5 July.
Okay, so they
So it
took
ended in the
August
middle of
off.
summer. So it's been a couple months.
Yeah, they took August. They took most of July and August off.
Oh, so that means that Cog was sitting there he was there for about 4 months on his own. Okay.
Well, that kind of makes sense that it took that long for him to rebuild, and
Patch
heal
up and
a
make a
little
plan. Yeah.
Mhm.
bit. So yes, he was there July. He was there for about 3 months. If you take their date being the date, which you can't really, because you remember the fact that in
Yeah,
the
Doctor
RTD
Who
era,
is
Doctor
like
Who
6 months in the future or
1 year in the future.
1 year.
Yeah, because of the series 1.
Yeah, I thought that was
Episode.
6 months, but I might have been wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a year off. He wanted to be a week, and it turned out to be a year. Because apparently the Ninth Doctor could not fly the TARDIS. Anyway.
Perfectly all the time.
Anyway, so either way, it was a few months between that. So yes, this was a Sarah Jane that had just seen the Daleks, just seen Davros, and now just saw the Sontarans. So she's basically spending the year having flashback trips.
because like every single thing that ever gave her the heebie-jeebie nightmares since leaving the doctor is suddenly coming back in the last couple months.
Would have been great if the next villain after that in Sarah Jane was Cybermen.
Yeah.
It would have been, what is
Or
this, Old Home Week?
Or Zygons. But
Yeah.
Zygons weren't back to Doctor Who yet.
Yep. Bring her some dinosaurs or something.
Oh god, that would have been a traumatic flashback too.
Luke goes to the store and buys some plastic dinosaurs. Oh my god, what are those doing here?
You know, I would have done that the entire season if I was these people. Sontarans, Cybermen. What else can we throw at them? Wern.
Robots.
Anything that just references back to her era in Unit, and just have it so that she thinks she's going insane because everything is a back reference. Her entire past is catching up with her. That would have been an awesome season.
Oh, and the season with giant spiders trying to take over Earth.
It would have been beautiful.
I was gonna say, and it was Sutek.
Oh yeah, fucking.
Oh,
Sutek.
and Sutek. Oh god, bring back Sutek.
Oh my god, could you imagine her trying to face off with Sutek without the doctor there?
Oh my god. Talk about having your nightmare scenario.
God, I wish I had been showrunner. I could have basically said, okay, we're doing this, and Sutek.
Then you would have gotten a phone call. This is a little too dark for the kids. You need to tone it back.
Oops. Well.
All right. Call
We're
David
getting
Tennant
complaints
and
from
see
the
if.
parents.
Wait. No. We could do this. See if David Tennant can make a guest appearance in the finale.
Ooh.
That would have been the perfect season.
Yes, they have Sutek back, and then all of a sudden here comes the doctor again.
As long as he didn't save the day for her and take her show away.
Well, I don't know how much Sarah Jane Adventures you've seen, Bill, but there were episodes.
I saw the opening Christmas special / pilot, and this.
There were twice that the doctor was actually in the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Did he end up saving the day, or was he?
Usually, it was a team effort.
Okay, so
it's
yeah,
always
that's
a team
fine.
effort. It's Sarah
I'm
Jane.
saying the doctor showing up in the finale sounds too much like the doctor is going to save the day and make Sarah Jane into a bystander or
no, it's the doctor. He'll make her an active part of it.
The Wedding of Sarah Jane, which she was about to get married, and it turned out that it was actually a plot by one of the regular bad guys in there.
And that's the one where people get the quote of the however many thousand of regenerations he claimed he has as a joke.
Wrong. That comes from
That's
funeral
from the other
of
one?
the doctor. Yes.
Oh, I thought that was from this one. Okay.
No. The first one was David Tennant. The second one was Matt Smith. And the Matt
I thought
Smith
they were
one,
both Matt Smith.
Nope. The first one was Tennant.
Huh.
Wedding
that was during their 2009 season, so that was the season after that, season 3. And the Matt Smith one was either the 4th or 5th season. I think it was the 4th, because the 5th was only like 3 episodes.
And
anyways,
the wedding one was also the one where Katie Manning showed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No. The funeral for the doctor was the one.
That was also the funeral. Oh.
Yep. Okay. Least favorite scene, Bill.
I'm going to go with, and if I had realized I was going to say this, I probably wouldn't have used it for what I dislike in general. But the first scene in the episode where Chrissy Jackson shows up, and they do that whole long thing where he is talking to Mr. Smith and not talking to Mr. Smith, and she's calling Sarah Jane all these wacky names, and it felt like it was stalling the whole thing to. I mean, I guess it kind of paid off in the finale, but it didn't feel worth it.
It didn't pay off. It just didn't pay off.
Yeah, it paid off in the fact that she knew where to hit the Sontaran, and that was about it.
Yeah, that was it. Aaron, least favorite scene.
I didn't like the scene where Sarah Jane had her son kind of take over for the one girl, and she was like, well, can you, find the flaw in Einstein's theory? And the other girl is the scientist, the astronomer's daughter, is kind of faced with the fact that, well, she chose to go she either chose to go with the chemist route or tried to, play neutral between the two scientists' parents. So she never really got to choose one way or another, and
That's
really
actually not the point being made there, and this is
Hmm.
because you haven't seen the previous portions of the series, and I'll explain it. Sarah Jane's adopted son, Luke, is a
Hmm.
genetically engineered super genius.
Okay.
He
Yeah,
was
I got that he was supposed to be
he
a
was
genius.
created by a group called the Bane to literally be to literally be the super brain.
Okay.
What Sarah Jane was basically saying is, are you 1,000 times, are you 10 times smarter than Einstein? If not, let someone who is take over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is kind
Because
of
he's
yeah.
about the only one who's going to be able to get through this thing quickly enough to actually do something.
To be able to decode encryption in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Although that has nothing to do with your understanding of relativity, but that's
No.
that's something television does all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
are you the smart? No, then let somebody who is the smart sit down and do it.
It's kind of it's kind of facing the fact that you can't do everything. It's not really, I don't really hate anyone's scene in this thing here. I guess it's a scene that kind of made me uncomfortable because, well, this character actually has to face the fact that she doesn't know everything.
I think
That she
that scene
can't
could have been
really help the
handled.
situation. Huh?
I think that scene could have been handled better.
It could have been especially. I mean, I think that was before there was the whole the whole controversy of trying to get women in STEM and all of the backlash coming from men and everything. And but this, yeah, like
No,
if that came out now, I
think
think there would have been a
I
lot of
think the scene
backlash.
could have been written better.
Yeah.
I could have said, if I would have changed Sarah Jane's lines to please let Luke handle it. His brain has been engineered to do several thousand, computations per second, and that would have been, that would have explained it quicker and less offensive. Because yes, I even found
or
the
even if she
surgeon
said if
slightly offensive.
or to phrase it a way the doctor might have,
Yes.
she could have turned around and been like, well, if Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, and Isaac Newton were all in this room, he still would be the smartest person here. Let him take over.
Only
Or
if it was the
something like
doctor,
that.
he'd be referring to himself. But
Yeah, the doctor, it would be me, but yeah, exactly.
Don't really
there's
be
one
me, but I'm
person
busy.
I would say there's one person in the universe smarter than Luke to handle this, and unfortunately, he's not on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That probably would have been my way of putting it. So Tim, your least favorite scene?
My least favorite scene is the scene where the black kid says, "She's one of them. That's too bad. I fancied her." And I'm like, all you have to do is take that thing off her neck. She's not
Right.
she's not one of
I
them.
completely agree with you there because I was about to say something too.
Yeah.
Except obviously I couldn't yell at the TV or my
Although,
phone, but I could have yelled at
given
my
the
phone. But
Doctor
I
Who
wouldn't do
universe's history of what happens when you take the thing off their neck, I
anything.
could see where he would think that might be very, very bad.
Yeah, and
At the
he
same
has
time, though,
experienced this for at least a year now
But
in real time.
thankfully,
quite
Sontarans are
Robo-Men.
not Cybermen.
Yes,
Yeah.
true.
They're not Cybermen and they're not Robo-Men via the Daleks.
That's true because Robo-Men, I think it's surgically grafted to your face.
Yeah. Although later ones apparently was implanted behind the ear, a la Remembrance of the Daleks. Remember the little chip behind the ear?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, yeah.
It was like,
Still,
you can get couples counseling.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, your least favorite scene.
I think this happened actually twice. I liked how much of a threat the Sontaran is until you suddenly throw a metal door with a lever on it in front of him. Suddenly he doesn't know what a lever is and he can't open a door.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, at least he's not stopped by
Doorknobs, my one
and
weakness.
And stairs.
Not unlike the aliens from Signs, who are apparently weak to wood and water.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said wood and water.
The things that begin with the letter W. The letter W is the alien's weakness.
Yeah. If in Signs Tooth, try toss a watermelon at them, or a what a
A
Yeah,
what call it bar.
Yeah, there you go.
A wafer. Throw wafers at them.
It's wafer thin. But yeah, just
Shoot, we're being attacked by the aliens for Sign 2. Go to the church. I'm sure there's some wafers in there.
But yeah, just Sontaran, big menacing evil army men. Doors are their greatest weakness. Heaven forbid we'd ever have a doorknob that he could actually turn himself.
If we had doors that required 5 fingers to operate,
oh, he'd be defeated instantly too.
that would do the job.
That would actually be clever.
Okay, so my least favorite scene, I think, is the one where they stick the heel of the shoe into the Cyberman's probic vent.
Cybermen's?
Yeah.
Or into the Sontaran. Sorry, I'm sick. I have a cold. Anyway, into the Sontaran's probic vent, and it gives off this huge electronic arc. And I'm like, when has that ever happened before? And seriously, the heel of a shoe.
Supposedly that heel of the shoe must have been metal.
Didn't the doctor take one out with a tennis ball? Or a
well,
whatever kind of ball that was?
Usually a rubber mallet or something like that. I think he did do
it was
one
like
with
a ping pong ball or a tennis ball or something.
It was a croquet ball. He just he didn't actually take him out. He just kind of temporarily rendered him paralyzed.
Usually it's a temporary paralysis if you pop them on the back with something flat like that. It's usually fatal if you use something sharp and pointy to go into their vent. Remember, in Invasion of Time, Leela was taking them out with bows and arrows to the probic vent.
Mm-hmm.
Or Janus thorns, if she had them. I can't remember. And I
She
think
might
she
have
did
had
one
a
with a
few.
knife. Yeah.
She definitely did one with a knife. And the doctor's just like, very nice, Leela. Yes, a very good nice knife trick.
I think he then suggested she become an assassin.
That she'd be quite proficient at it or something.
Be quite proficient at killing people if you put your mind to it.
It seemed like it was overblown for what they needed to do. And that did bother me a little. Because the rest of this was very subtle, and suddenly they go over the top. I'm like, what the fuck? Seriously?
So.
So, yeah, well, I'm also pushing for finding something.
Yeah, after we've listed almost everything else.
So let's go on to our final thoughts, because we've got about 10 minutes left. All right, so Bill?
Well, I wasn't sure what to expect with this being geared toward a younger audience. In the end, I have to say, definitely enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed Cog, if not for his, other than his ridiculous name. But
Cog!
He was a serious threat, and they, were creative and took him down. Not flawless 5 out of 5, but still a pretty good episode.
Okay. That's fine. You can rate it in a little bit. Aaron, your final thoughts.
I was actually pleasantly surprised with this one. It held my attention. Brightly colored, brightly lit areas will do that for me. But also I liked pretty much all of the characters, even kind of the clueless mother character. She was still fairly likable too. Of course, she was also unconscious for a good chunk of the episodes, so.
Unconscious?
Right.
No.
Yeah, didn't they knock her unconscious at one point?
Toward the end.
At the very end.
Yeah.
All right.
Just the right amount of her, anyway.
Tim?
I have no complaints about this episode. It's kind of average though. But I think it piqued my curiosity to see more Sarah Jane episodes.
All right. Matt?
Sarah Jane is perfect as always. Sontaran actually has teeth in this episode, which is really unusual considering that this is a children's show. But again, children's shows and movies with teeth,
Okay.
I've always argued are pretty decent
You're talking
ideas.
about figurative teeth and not literal teeth.
Not
I
literal
wasn't sure
teeth,
for a
but
second.
no. Having decent stuff for kids to actually watch like this is actually a really good thing as far as I'm concerned. And while this is by no means 100% perfect, there's a lot to like about this particular story.
All right. So, as for me, I I think this makes a great episode or a great epilogue to Stratagem's Poison Sky. It's great to see these kind of things from another angle. I really wish with Sarah Jane Adventures they could have actually done more of doing the same stuff from a different angle, kind of like this. But I think this is like the one lone episode like this. All the acting was good. The direction, as far as I could tell, was good. My only issue was the special effects people, I think, went a little overboard with some of the CGI effects for the Sontaran. All right, ratings. Bill, you are going to be rating first.
For something that's geared toward a younger audience, the Doctor Who, I'm going to say 4.5.
Okay.
As
Aaron.
a full Doctor Who episode, it might consider something different, but it's not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 4.0. I thought it was halfway decent. I liked it.
All right. Tim.
I think it was an okay episode. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Matt.
I'm actually going to agree with Bill this week. 4.5. This is a pretty solid one.
Oh, great. I'm splitting the group. As Sarah first, remembering that this is an episode of Sarah Jane Adventures, I am going to go with Matt Bill and give it a 4.5, which will give us an average of 4.3 for this episode.
Oh,
Looks
I'm
like
the
we're
low
Rank
guy.
it.
downers.
You're the low guy this week, Tim.
Which will rank us along with the Web of Fear 10th Planet. It is below the Husbands of River Song and above end of the line Mind Robber, Bad Wolf Parting the Ways, War Games, and Legopolis. I think, again, we are rating this almost on a separate scale than we should be Doctor Who, simply because the fact that it is geared for a different audience and written as such.
And also thinking of that in mind,
Yep.
this is probably one of the better children's shows
I would
and
think
one of the better episodes of a
I
children's
would
show.
personally think that it would be closer to a 4.0, 3.8 if it was if you're putting it on the same scale, which is around
Right.
Enemy of the World, Girl in the Fireplace, Day of the Daleks. Yeah, I think it's about in there. It's still a very good episode, even on a Doctor Who scale. But the fact that it is geared deliberately for kids makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and take us out, Bill.
Okay, well, if you enjoyed listening to us, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe on twitch.tv, YouTube, and Mixcloud. You can also like and follow at on facebook.com/unearthlypodcast and twitter.com/unearthlypod. And if you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast.
All right, next week, since we're on to spin-offs and in celebration of Barrowman's birthday, we're going to cover the very first episode of Torchwood. It's Everything's Changes, written by Russell T. Davies and directed by Brian Kelly.
Barrowman.
Barrowman!
A man who barrows.
Yes.